This is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5 political analyst Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. Less than 2 weeks to go until the November 8th midterm elections. At stake is control of both houses of Congress, along with governorships and legislatures across the country and the nation. How are the races trending both nationally and here in Tennessee? To give us their insights and their political experience, our guests on Inside Politics this week are Nashville lawyer and Democratic analyst Larry Woods and political commentator and strategist Scottie Hughes. Thank you both for coming back on the show again. To both of you, for the first question, will this be a Republican wave election with the GOP be taking both the House and the Senate? Scottie, what do you think?
Well, I think it looks to be that way. The question is what type of candidates are actually going to be elected. Obviously, the Republican Party is still largely held by Donald Trump. He is the dominant figurehead. So is it going to be his candidates getting in, or more the established Mitch McConnell's candidates that are getting in or reelected back in office? You saw that in the primaries. They battled each other out. So what kind of red wave are we going to see? Is it going to be a deep conservative wave, or is it going to be more of the let's kind of get along because we're still not in control of the Oval Office?
Larry, it looked like we had a situation where the Democrats were doing better than expected in a midterm election year when they're in control in Washington, but that's sort of gone back the other direction.
I think a little bit that I would agree with you on that. When the abortion case came down in June in Dobbs, there was one central burning issue that had sort of everybody's attention for a couple of months. But then that issue, in terms of publicity and how much it's being talked about, has receded, I think, and we're back to where, it's a mixture of right to choose regarding abortion and the economy and crime and schools and whatever's going on locally. So my answer to your question would be, yes, I think the Republicans are going to do fairly well. I don't think it's going to be a tidal wave by any means.
Scottie, the Cook Political Report, which has a pretty good record of being sort of down the middle and pretty accurate, they upped their Republican gains. They expect in the election to go from somewhere between 15 to 20 seats to 25, maybe more. Again, I guess your concern is who are those 25 extra seats the Republicans are going to have, or how united the Republicans are going to be? Are you concerned that there is a real schism in the Republican Party between the traditional conservative Republicans and the MAGA people?
History would tell us that's what the main problem is. That's the reason why when Republicans had the Oval Office with Donald Trump, why nothing still was able to get done under him, because it wasn't the Democrats that were holding the Republicans up. It was actually the schism within the own party and the party infighting. That's why no policies got posted underneath Donald Trump that got passed, and hence why the Democrats were able to take control in the first place. I'm looking at the Senate. My personal predictions as I look at these races, I think it's going to be a 52 majority to 48, which is a flip. Chuck Schumer will be sent back to his office and will have to move back into the less roomier place. And then plus 25 in the House. A lot of that, though, I think we have to look at is the redistricting. I think that is going to play a major role, especially in these House races.
Yes.
More to the Republicans, but you look at states like Illinois, which is very blue. It will help the Democrats in that case.
Larry, you see the Democrats losing both houses?
No, I don't. Okay. I think the Democrats are going to lose. They're going to lose control in the House. I think the Republicans are probably going to get 15 to 20 seats gained. In the Senate, no. I think it's going to stay. Maybe one or two votes will shift. So technically, the Republicans might want to be having a one-vote majority in the Senate, but that's not going to change anything. And it's a tough road coming for President Biden, almost regardless of whether he loses both houses or just one of them. He's not going to be able to get a lot done.
Not to get into the details of all these races, but as you look election night, what states are you looking for in the Senate that are key? That if the Democrats are going to maintain a majority, they have to win this, say, that if they're going to lose, the Republicans are going to win, what do they have to take?
That's shifted a little bit, as we've all been saying here in the last few months. But as of today, I'd say the states the Democrats are paying the most attention to in terms of the Senate are Georgia, Pennsylvania, maybe Ohio, definitely Nevada, And we don't want to have to pay attention in Arizona, but the Republican Senate candidate in Arizona has picked up some. I think that Arizona seat's still safe for the incumbent Democrat. I think the Nevada seat's still safe for the incumbent Democratic woman senator. I'm not so sure about Georgia, and Pennsylvania's a real toss-up, I think.
Let me throw in there Wisconsin. I think that's a state also.
Well,
I
yes,
think Wisconsin's
yes.
also the one we need to be looking at. But once again, this also has to do in states like Arizona, Georgia. It's also, there's some key governor's races, and it's whether or not they can be unified and bring the ballot up. And I think you're seeing that in Arizona. There's a large behind Kerry Lake right now. That's going to help the Arizona Republican Senate candidate. Georgia as well, if they team up together with it, as Kemp is going up against Stacey Abrams, who continues to have issues within. They're bringing out Barack Obama on the campaign trail, which means internally they're bringing out their heaviest hitter possible, that they know that it's kind of like their Hail Mary in some of these states.
So, Scottie, if the Republicans take both the House and the Senate, they won't take it by margins that are beyond the filibuster in the Senate. They won't be able to be stopped by a filibuster. They won't be able to do enough to. They can pass it in the House, but there's also the presidential veto. So what's going to change? What's going to pass in the next section of Congress? Anything?
This is the catch-22 about winning majority, because now what you do is you give the president, who is a Democrat, the ability to say the reason why your life is not getting any better in America is because the Republicans aren't doing anything. They're holding it up. So at this point, while the Republicans are championing a win, they're winning because of the failed agenda of the Obama administration or the Biden administration over the last 2 years.
If you were Fetterman, you'd be in trouble.
Exactly, on that side. I already have 10 hit pieces out about me on it. But that's the reason why the agenda is. So if Republicans take control, yes, their main job is to be a thorn in the president's neck. I think we're going to see a lot of executive orders coming out of the White House to try to get some of his principles, his agenda done. But basically, it's going to become a blame game between the two. It's who has the better PR war.
But Larry, it's going to be tough for Joe Biden. He's not going to be able to pass anything he wants to have passed. His agenda will come to an end if the Republicans take over both houses. He'll have trouble getting his nominees through. He's already had trouble with it as it is, but he'll have even more.
He already has had trouble. It's going to get worse. I think what Scottie says is generally true, that Biden will resort to issuing a lot more executive orders, and we mean the Republicans will resort to going to court a lot more to contest the legality of the executive orders, and we'll all sit back and wait 2 years to see what all happens. There's not going to be a lot of federal governmental level focus on the economy, the schools, the jobs, et cetera, because they're not going to be able to agree, except the Federal Reserve seems determined to run us in the ground. And neither the Senate nor the House can control that. You know, they're independent of both of them.
And Republicans aren't known for spending or cutting spending too well. So,
Democratic analyst Larry Woods is our guest, along with Scottie Hughes, who's a political commentator and strategist as well. Back to continue our conversation about what's coming up on November 8th after this break.
This